After a day of grief and anger here in Israel, thousands have gathered at Tel Aviv's Hostage Square to pay their respects for 4 Israeli hostages who finally returned home. In Khan Yunis, in southern Gaza, the bodies of mother Shiri Bibas and her 2 young sons, Ariel and Kafir, were presented to the Red Cross, along with the remains of fellow residents of Kibbutz Nir Oz, Oded Lifshitz. Their bodies placed in black coffins displayed on a makeshift stage in front of banners and posters depicting the Israeli Prime Minister as a vampire responsible for their deaths, and warning there will be more coffins containing Israeli hostages if the war restarts. The UN's Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has slammed the display, saying international law clearly states that when returning the remains of individuals, there needs to be due respect given to their dignity and that of their families. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issuing this promise.
Our heart is fractured, but our spirit will not break. And with this spirit, we will bring back all our hostages. We will annihilate the murderers. We will annihilate Hamas.
The bodies were driven from Gaza into Israel, where they travelled in convoy north to Tel Aviv, arriving at the country's National Forensics Centre. Many Israelis lining the highways and waiting outside the gates for their arrival. There, formal identification and examination of the bodies is underway. Oded Lifshitz identified within hours. Earlier in Hostage Square, people cried as the news came through. The usual crowds replaced with Israeli flags. Tonight, the crowds came out in vigil for those lost and those yet to return. Another 6 living hostages will be freed on Saturday. 4 more bodies returned next week. Each of those releases prompting Israeli authorities to release Palestinian prisoners and detainees currently held in the nation's jails. And while Israelis are furious at the display they saw in southern Gaza today, there are many Palestinians still feared buried under the rubble in the war-ravaged strip. The only way that more hostages will be released by Hamas in Gaza and more Palestinians will be freed is if this ceasefire continues beyond its current expiry on the 2nd of March. That will require both Hamas and the Netanyahu government to agree to terms to finally bring this war to an end.